Hey everybody, Anna Marie with Just Stamp here. Today I've got a cute gift box for Galentines. That's a gift for the bestie on Valentine's Day. I'm calling it a 2468 with a twist box, and I am going to be sharing with you how to make this little gift box. Everything I'm using today is from Stampin' Up. I am featuring the Hearts and Kisses stamp set with the lips and the sentiment from the stamp set, and we're going to be using the coordinating punch that goes along with that stamp set to punch out those lips. I'm also going to be using the Stitch So Sweetly dies, using just one of the labels from this die cut set. So let's get started. I'll walk you through the project and introduce you to the materials we're using. I am going to start off with a card base of 8.5 by 8.5 of real red cardstock. I'm going to make a belly band wrap using patterned paper from the Snail Mail Designer Series paper. I'm using an 1.5 inch by 9.5 inch strip. I'm using one Whisper White Stitch So Sweetly label. I have hand snipped one snail from that Snail Mail Designer Series paper, and I'm going to need a scrap of Whisper White for some additional stamping. So let's get started. We'll start with the box construction. I'm going to take that 8.5 inch square. I'm going to bring in my scoring tool. Haven't used this in a while, and I'm going to butt it up in the corner, score at 4 inches and 8 inches. I'm going to rotate the square to the left, and now I'm going to score at 2 inches. I'm going to rotate it back to the right, and I'm going to score, but only up to this 2 inch score line. I'm going to add additional scores at 2 inches. We already have 4. I need one at 6, and we already have the 8. So we are done with the scoring. I'm going to move this scoring tool aside. I'm going to bring in my bone folder to fold and burnish on all the score lines. So first the 4 inch line, and also the 8 inch score. I'm going to rotate it and bring it up at the 2 inch perpendicular score, burnish that down, and then I'm also going to try and score down or burnish down on the 2 inch scores that go up to that 2 inch scoring line. So there we go. We have still an 8.5 by 8.5 inch square. I'm going to take my paper snips and start clipping and eliminating a little bit. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this 1/2 inch panel that goes up to the 2 inch score line, and just going to snip that right up. And I'm going to cut on the diagonal, just going to make what's going to wind up being a seam for the box. Next, I'm going to snip all of the 2 inch tabs up to the score line. So just snip, and again, and one more time. And the next thing I like to do is eliminate some of the bulkiness on these tabs. So I'm going to make a dart in each tab on both sides. I'm just going to cut off a tiny sliver. This just kind of debulks the box bottom so it won't be so bulky. It'll lie flat for you. And it just takes a couple of minutes to kind of give this a finished fold. And we're just eliminating the tiniest sliver. And I'm doing it on all flaps. And one last snip, that final flap. And that is the basic box construction. I'm now ready to start applying some tear and tape adhesive. Tear and tape is the best adhesive for box construction, really easy to work with. I'm going to come in and bring a strip along that 1/2 inch tab that forms the seam of the box. I'm just going to put that on the inside of the seam so we won't see the seam there. And I'm going to burnish that down. It helps to reveal the tear and tape. I'm going to get my pick a tool, eliminate that adhesive covering, and I'm ready to fold up the box right up to the edge, opposite edge of the box, so corner to corner. There we go. And so now I've got the basic box construction. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the tabs. I'm going to burnish that down a little bit more. I'm going to fold up the right tab. Fold it up, and this is where I'm going to put the tear and tape adhesive right up at the top. And I'm also going to put a tiny strip down at the fold, and I'm going to flip it over. Now I'm going to do again the right tab. I'm going to flip that up. This is actually the back tab. This one I'm just going to put one strip of adhesive, make it simple. And we now have our box formation with our adhesive set in place. Now it's easiest for me to add the box wrap at this point. I'm going to take my 9.5 inch strip, measures 1 1/4. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive right to the center to hold it in position. And I'm going to apply this about 2.5 inches from the base of the box. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up to help using the grid lines to help me for placement. I want it at about the 2.5 inch mark. So let's see. So I've got 2.5. Here's my grid paper right there. And then let's see, I'm just double checking. Now I'm just going to do a wrap. I'm going to flip that over, fold, and bring in the other side as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and join the belly band. I'm going to apply some adhesive on both ends of that belly band to keep it in place. So one small dose there and one strip there. Come around and adhere that. There we go. And the box is for the most part ready. We're going to go ahead and fold up. Let's see. Before we do that, let's go ahead and create our label. So I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to bring in that Stitch So Sweetly label, my snail that has been hand snipped from the Designer Series paper, and I'm going to do some stamping. The first thing we need is the word Galentines up at the top here, and I'm going to be stamping in real red ink. I'm going to take my Happy Galentine's Day stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up. What I'm going to do next is take my chamois and remove the ink from the Happy and also from the Day. All I want to appear on this Stitch So Sweetly label is the Galentines. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add a small sticky tab on here so that I don't get any inking up at the top. And I'm also going to put another piece of scrap down below. I don't want any ghosting to appear on my label. I just want the Galentines to be the focal point. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp down, and let's see, trying to keep my head out of position, bring it up nice and close to the top, stamping down, and there we go. You can see I have just Galentines now. Now on a separate piece of scrap, I'm going to ink up again. And this time I just want the Happy and the Day. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up. I'm going to be hand snipping those two words from the stamping. And I'm also going to stamp the lips on the Whisper White scrap. I'm going to put it way down at the bottom to help me with the punching. You'll see what I mean as I bring out the punch. So on the coordinating punch, the kiss punch, I've got a heart at the bottom and the lips at the top. I'm going to flip that over and you'll see why I put those lips way at the bottom of the paper. In position, there. And the next thing I want to do is hand snip the happy and the day. So I'm just going to bring that off there. I'm going to hand snip that straight across. And I'll use that in just a moment. And I also want the day. So just those two little words. We're going to be piecing this back onto the label using a mini glue dot. So two things first. Let's go ahead and complete the snipping here. And I'm going to put a glue dot behind it. Bring in my roll of glue dots and I'm just going to open up the roll, come right up to that glue dot, put the day, then I'm going to come in and it looks like I need to trim up the happy just a tiny bit more. So I'm going to use my paper snips to cut a tiny bit more Whisper White off. Use a glue dot on that. And next I'm going to use a Stampin' Dimensional to adhere the lips to the snail. And I'm just looking around for a supply of dimensionals. I just need one. I'm going to put it right on the back of the lips and adhere them onto the snail, making it now a girly snail right up at the top. I'm going to adhere the snail to the stitched white label with a little bit of flat adhesive, and I'm going to put a tiny dot behind the eyes so that they stay intact. They won't be rubbing off. We're going to go ahead and put that right down below here. And I'm going to add the happy and the day now. So bring in the happy with the glue dot, putting it right over top. And we'll add the day down below. So we have, once again, Happy Galentine's Day. A couple more embellishments to the label. I'm going to add some red resin hearts. These are also new from Stampin' Up. I'm going to use my Pick-a tool to go ahead and lift those off and bring it right over to the Stitch So Sweetly label, putting it right on each tab. And then one more embellishment. I'm going to bring in some pink and white twine that comes from the Snail Mail twine combo pack. I'm going to make a little bow using both colors. So just bring them up, make my bow. And then I'm going to be snipping on both sides. Whoops, not quite right. And I'm going to use some ribbon shears to cut that down. And we're going to adhere this to the label with one little glue dot. And just bring it right over to the side of that cute snail. And there's our focal point for our box. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this now while it's flat. So I'm going to put some flat adhesive, and I'm going to be generous with it so it sticks on the box. Flip that over, put it centered, and press down firmly so that it will adhere. I need to let it dry just a couple seconds before I construct the box at the bottom. We have one more step to do before we adhere the box at the bottom, I'm going to bring in a 1-inch circle punch, and this is the little handle up at the top of the 2, 4, 6, 8 box with a twist. I'm going to go ahead and punch down, and now I have a handle, and I'm ready to adhere the bottom of the box. This is a 2, 4, 6, 8 with a twist box, and flipping it there, what I want to do is make sure I'm doing the flaps in sequence. So I'm going to do first the side flaps, then I'm going to bring the back flap closed, and I'm going to pull the adhesive here using my pick a tool there, and bringing that and revealing the adhesive. And when I turn the box over, I want to make sure I've got a perfect square, so I'm going to have to pinch the box so that it forms a nice square. Bring up that tab. Remember, we're going for a square. And when I flip over, I'm going to go ahead and secure that closed. I'm going to get a long tool like a ruler to hold that in position. Just going to kind of burnish that down. I'm going to flip over and do the final tab, that front tab. Peel that away, and when I flip it, I again want to make sure that I'm forcing it into a square. And there we go. I've got my little 2, 4, 6, 8 box with a twist. I can next go ahead and fill this little gift box, and here's what I'm filling it with. A couple of different options. If you are gifting this to a bestie who is a crafter, we can put a pair of paper snips inside and a bottle of glue. These both fit nicely right inside. And we can add pretty ribbon with red satin ribbon, stitch satin ribbon, 19 inches. I'm just going to pull this through and tie up at the top. Just like so. And let's see, I'm going to try and even these out just a tiny bit. There we go. And make my loops. And there we go. There is a 2, 4, 6, 8 box with a twist for a galentine, for a crafty galentine. Now, if you're gifting to someone who's not crafty or who doesn't like to craft, we also can put a little package of swanky hankies inside along with some hand cream. They fit nicely inside the box as well. So there you go. I have another version here for you with patterned paper, so you can see how nicely they work both with cardstock and for the lighter weight designer series paper. This happens to be heart paper that comes along the Snail Mail designer series paper. So either version, both great gift boxes for your galentine, and this is the 2, 4, 6, 8 box with the twist. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave a comment right below. Be sure to subscribe if you're watching for the first time, and you'll receive notifications for new videos that will come up. Thanks for joining.